In these videos, I will cook 3 different types of classic pasta dishes, but with a twist. I'll use Asian noodles to cook them. We are starting with carbonara, but instead of pasta, I'm using instant noodles. First, I boil 2 blocks of instant noodles. These are the ones I usually use for hot pot, so they don't come with any seasoning packets. My pot is a bit small for 2 blocks, so I flip them carefully to make sure both sides cook evenly. I have to be gentle here to not break the noodles as well. While the noodles are cooking, I prepare the sauce. I crack 2 eggs and add some cheese powder. Normally you'd use Parmigiano or Pecorino, right? But all I could find was this grated cheese called formaggio. The description says formaggio is also known as Parmigiano, but I'm pretty suspicious. I couldn't find any info online saying the same thing, but it still looks close enough, so I use this unidentified cheese anyway. Keep adding some black pepper, some salt, beat everything together, and our egg mixture is ready to go. Once the noodles soften, I drain them but leave a little bit of the starchy water behind. That water is important to making a creamy sauce. Next up, bacon. I couldn't find guanciale. The traditional pork chick for carbonara, so we only got bacon. I chop it into small pieces and fry it until crispy. I set aside half for topping and leave the rest in the pan with the bacon drippings. Then I add the remaining to the noodles. This bacon will be less crispy than the pieces used for topping since this absorbs the liquid in the pot. But I think it's great to have both crispy and soft bacon in the same dish. I call it diversity. Now we are at the tricky step. I need to handle the egg sauce. Well, honestly, even though I've made carbonara plenty of times, this step still makes me nervous. If the pan is too hot, we will get a place of scrambled egg noodles. But I think you missed the chance to see scrambled eggs today. It's still carbonara, and I was relieved that I didn't have to change my video title to something like Scrambled Eggs with Instant Noodles. Okay, I'm almost done. I'll transfer it to a plate. I top it off with the crispy bacon I set aside earlier. Add that unidentified grated cheese and finish it with a dash of black pepper. Done. Now, let's give it a try. It's surprisingly good. The creamy sauce coats every strand perfectly. The smoky bacon adds a bunch of flavor, and there's a mild aroma of instant noodles. If you're not too strict about tradition, I think instant noodles work as a fun alternative. They even cook faster. To me, there's not much difference between this carbonara and the one with traditional pasta. It makes sense, since both are made from wheat flour. However, my carbonara is a bit dry this time, so I only give it 9 out of 10. Next, let's cook chicken pesto, but instead of pasta, I will use glass noodles. These noodles can be made from various ingredients like sweet potato, bean, or canna. Mine are made from canna. According to Wikipedia, this plant is actually native to the American tropics. Wow! I just realized I grew up eating American things. Anyway, these noodles are transparent, super bouncy, and soak up flavors pretty well. But first, they need a quick soak in water to soften up. This is a traditional way to prepare the noodles. We don't always boil them. While waiting for the noodles, I prep the other ingredients. Mince some garlic and slice the tomatoes in half. At first I planned to use big tomatoes because I had some in my fridge. But I saw many people use cherry or grape tomatoes for this dish. Since I have never cooked this dish myself before, I thought it's better to follow the instructions this time. For the meat, I have half a chicken breast. I've cut it into bite-sized pieces. Well, I think that's too much chicken, so I'll save this piece for my next meal. Now I'll season the chicken. Just keep it simple with some salt, some peppers, chili powder, and half of the garlic. Then mix everything together. Back to the noodles. It was time to take them out. As you can see, they absorbed a lot of water and became soft. They are so shiny, I just realized they look exactly like a bunch of fishing lines. I think The only difference is they probably taste better. Now time to saute the chicken. I cook it until it's golden and juicy. Then set it aside. In the same pan, I add more garlic. Once again, I couldn't find fresh basil where I live, which also means no fresh pesto sauce. I have to use the kind from a jar. This sauce is super thick. I feel like it's stuck in there. I use a little more than half a jar this time. I tossed in the tomatoes and those slippery glass noodles. I think there's too much sauce, so I add more noodles. Actually, this is unusual, but I don't think it's a big issue since I just added the first bunch of noodles just a few seconds ago. They stick together a bit, not a good signal. And it's also quite dry, so I add some water. Finally, the chicken in and done. Chicken pesto glass noodle edition. I transfer everything to a plate. Some sauce spilled on the edge, so I have to clean it, otherwise it will look like a half-eaten dish. Okay, it looks better. Now let's give it a try. It's very salty. Even with the extra noodles I added, it's still on the salty side. It's also a bit greasy, but I have to say, the texture is amazing. The glass noodles are soft, chewy and fun to eat. Would be even better if they didn't stick together so much. But anyway, I think they absorb the sauce even better than pasta. It's definitely worth a try, very promising, but because of the extreme saltiness, I can only give it 7.5 out of 10. Next up, we're making bolognese, but instead of pasta, I will use pho noodles. Yes, I mean the kind you usually see in Vietnamese pho. I start by prepping the veggies, grating a carrot and an onion. I also chop up some celery. If you're wondering, yes, my celery is thinner than the ones you usually see, but it tastes pretty much the same. Into the pot they go, sizzling all the way until they soften. Then I add some minced beef and cook it until it's nicely browned. Season it with some salt and pepper. Now for the sauce, I have a whole jar of bolognese sauce. You know, I used to live in Europe for several years, and a jar like this costs half as much there as in my hometown. There was a time when I ate this sauce almost every week, pairing it with meatballs, fish, chicken, mushroom, basically anything I could find. Next, according to the recipes, adding wine is a must. I also rinse out the sauce jar with a splash of wine. Nothing goes to waste. One jar doesn't seem like enough, so I'm gonna add some fresh tomatoes. But first, I grind them into a smoothie. I think it's faster this way. Everything blends smoothly even when I don't remove the tomato skin. The juice splashes everywhere. I should have used a big cup instead. You know, it actually looks like a watermelon smoothie. I pour it straight into the pot. Wow, my fresh tomato is way less red than the sauce from the jar. Anyway, I mix everything together and let it simmer. Traditional bolognese takes 6 hours, but I don't have all day, so 1 hour will do. I'm really sorry Italian friends out there. To finish the sauce, I add some heavy cream. I prefer cream over milk because it makes the sauce thicker and richer. Here are my fresh pho noodles. I bought them straight from the nearby traditional market. At least this is one ingredient I can easily find where I live. With fresh pho, I only blanch them for about 10 seconds before draining. I plate them up, pour that rich bolognese sauce over the top, and once again, finish it with the unidentified cheese. Done! Now let's give it a try. The pho noodles themselves are pretty bland, but because they are thin, they hold on to the sauce really well. I did overcook pho a little bit though, so they broke into shorter pieces. The sauce is rich, meaty, and has a hint of sweetness. Honestly, pho works better than I expected. If I had simmered the sauce for 6 hours and blanched pho perfectly, I would have given it a 10. For now, I can only give it an 8.5. Okay, so which dishes do you think is the best? Let me know in the comment and don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.